Welcome, my friends, to the YouTube version of the BJJ Break podcast. I hope you enjoy the show. If you do, please subscribe to the channel. Let's get to the show.
Thank you for listening to the BJJ Brick podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to flatten your Jiu-Jitsu learning curve, help you get the most out of your grappling ability, and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back, my friends, to episode 149 of the BJJ Brick podcast. My name is Gary, and I'm here with my partner in crime, Byron. Byron, how are you today?
Gary, I'm doing great. Excited to be here. Excited to bring another fantastic interview. We have Brent Lillard on the show. A little bit different of a show, Gary.
It definitely is. Kind of a cool interview today. We had talked about it, an article we had read about it before, and he's a guy who owns a very, very successful large company, Govsmart, and one of the fastest growing companies around, and he has his sales staff train in jiu-jitsu, and he gets a lot of benefits, out of it. They're a much stronger unit, tougher, more confidence, leads to more sales and, less sick days, just makes that much of a better company. So it's kind of cool to see not just jiu-jitsu for sport, self-defense, exercise. Now we're talking about bringing the jiu-jitsu to the business world and making a company that much better. So kind of a cool, unique interview and article, too, that he was on there where we learned about him. So yeah, definitely stay tuned and when we go over for the interview.
Yeah, that was on jiu-jitsutimes.com, and getting to talk to him and getting to know Brent a little bit. It's huge business. It's a multi-million-dollar business. It's featured in like Inc. magazine, Forbes, and stuff like that about how fast they're growing, and not just the sales staff, but like a lot of the people up high in the company, they train, and really we get into how important that is for the teamwork and the camaraderie and for that positive environment, and how that jiu-jitsu affects that. So maybe today you're not usually listening to the show. Maybe you found this because you've heard of Brent and you want to learn more about what they're doing. Well, this will be a nice exposure to jiu-jitsu for you, and then also good to see what he's doing and his team-building exercises that they do. So very interesting episode. It's nice to work at a place like that to where they often that they train together, and I know Gary does a little bit of that from his work.
Yeah, and I remember we talked last week getting ready for this interview that how many of our listeners will actually send this guy resumes. So I bet as more word gets out, everybody's going to want to go work for that company. But one other thing I thought was kind of neat when we read the article at Jiu-Jitsu Times, the author of the article at Jiu-Jitsu Times was talking about, boy, how am I going to get a hold of a CEO of this company? And, it's a big-time company, and trying to get a hold of a CEO of a large company is virtually impossible. And so he's trying to figure out ways to he'd call and get the receptionist and the gatekeeper, as we'll call it, and could never get a hold of him. So one day, they said, "Hey, who's calling?" And he said, "Hickson Gracie." And I thought it was cool that he got a call back from that. The guy's like, "Hey, I like your ingenuity. I'm going to give you a call back on that one." That's kind of neat.
Yep, it's always kind of fun to see the backstory of what things are happening to make things like that happen.
Speaking of that, Byron, because I know you're the one who got a hold of him. Did you have to use that, or how did you get a hold of him?
No, I just sent him a message, and he replied. I said, "Hey, we'd like to have you on the show," and send him our website. And he's a cool guy, and he gives his contact information to everybody else as well. So that gatekeeper door is open.
So awesome. Can't go wrong with that. Hey, so we talk about don't miss the interview part of the show, but you definitely don't want to miss any of our shows. So we have a link on our show notes to get on our email list. So if you just put your email there, we will send you out a link to each and every show, each and every week. That way you'll never miss the good times with the BJJ Brick podcast, and you get to hear Byron and always have a good time. Nobody really cares about hearing me, but so definitely you hear Byron, and this week you hear Brent Lillard. So put your email address in there, and you'll never miss a show. And we promise we will not spam you. That's not what we're here for. I can guarantee you anybody who's ever put their email address has never got a spam.
Gary, speaking of not spamming people, a little bit of housekeeping technically side on the podcast here. we got a message from our friend in Australia, and corresponding back and forth, and he's wanting to know how he download the first 50 or first, what was it, 49 or 48 episodes of the podcast on iTunes. And I was like, what? I didn't realize they weren't up there. So it was just showing the first 100 episodes, or the most recent 100 episodes. Since we're well past that, all the early episodes were gone.
49. So
I went in and I went through our programming system, kind of behind the scenes, and made it to where it'll show all of our episodes. Well, Gary, what happened?
You were the man.
What happened after that, something that I didn't realize would happen, but hopefully it didn't annoy anybody too bad. But if you had not listened to those episodes and you were subscribed to the show, I think you downloaded those, or at least some people did. Or maybe just people hopped on and just downloaded them, because that day we got a pretty big spike in downloads. I'm like, what in the world happened? And I'm looking back and I see, it's the same day I fixed the glitch. So if you accidentally downloaded 50 episodes of the BJJ Brick podcast that were episodes 1 through 50, whoops. But hopefully, check them out. They're not too bad. I think we're getting better as we go, Gary. But
the good
that's
part
why.
About it is Sirius Radio took notice. We are now signed with a multi-million-dollar contract. And they saw how many downloads happened that day. Actually, just kidding on that part. But it would be nice.
Oh, man, we get to get some people paying attention to what we're up to, Gary.
I doubt it, but oh well.
Speaking of what we're up to, Gary, we're always trying to make things happen here on the show. One thing that we can make happen for you is to help you get through your first year of training, if that's you. It's often looked at as probably the hardest year of your training, just because there's so much new going on, so much physical discomfort. You have to find the right gym. Your first month is going to be difficult. You might not appreciate some of the side benefits of jiu-jitsu, which we'll talk about today in the interview as well, some of the benefits that occur off the mat. And just so much going on with jiu-jitsu, fitting it into your schedule, all these things. I wrote a little audio book. I didn't really write it. I verbalized a little audio book. It's about 2.5 hours long. It's $11.99. And that money goes to help keep the show on the air and help keep us doing what we're doing, Gary. But if you'd like to check it out, check out the show notes. Go to the website, however you want to get there, and click the link and check out our audiobook. It's 2.5 hours long. It's me talking to you, my friends, about your first year of training and trying to get you through all the little bumps in the road that may occur and to get you through a successful first year, all the way to if you want to do a tournament or compete. So a lot of stuff in there, and I really think that it helps people out.
Check it out, your first year in BJJ. Hey, real quick before we get onto the quote of the week, I would like to give a little shout out to our Patreon supporters. Right now we have 5 of them. Rob, Sean, Greggy, Alexander, and Barack. We appreciate you guys supporting the show. You're a $3 per episode supporter, and so thank you guys very much.
Yep, we appreciate all the support we're getting from the Patreon supporters. If you're interested in helping the show out through that method, check out the video link in the notes, and I'll explain to you how Patreon is, how it works. And we appreciate that too.
Yep.
It means
Thanks,
a ton.
Barack.
Oh, Gary's always throwing in extra support. Very kind.
One of those names was made up.
Speaking of making up names, Gary, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, maybe, gives us our quote of the week this week. And here's the quote here, Gary. Correction does much, but encouragement does more. And I'm trying to just think about, just jiu-jitsu specifically here. You obviously take it into any sort of a learning thing, but encouragement is a big deal. So if I'm rolling with somebody and they're relatively new to the mats, they're doing so much poorly. I hate to say it like that, but so much is not happening well for them. So I like to roll, get a little, back and forth and let them kind of work what they've maybe have learned that day or maybe the day before. And try not to focus on so much of like, don't do that. Yeah, I'll get some of that advice. But if they happen to get out of something or kind of, do a shrimp or attempt to do the move of the day that we learned, big encouragement, oh, that was awesome. Good job. And I know Gary's always that way, very positive and encouraging to people, because in today's day and age, I hate to say it, there's not a lot of encouragement from outside people. Hopefully you get that at home. You may not even get it there, but for have a stranger give you that positive feedback and that encouragement, that's a big deal, Gary.
Yep. Like you were mentioning, I I kind of really like encouragement. That's kind of how I try to work with people. I used to do the other way, correction, but as I was doing that, I noticed a lot of the guys I was trying to correct, because I was correcting them so much, like you said, they're a new person. They all thought I had Tourette's, just because I kept saying the same thing over and over again. So I noticed it didn't work as much as encouragement. So, so I've been trying to go that route.
Yeah. And Gary, I mean, we'll be walking off the mat and Gary will be telling somebody, or including me sometimes, hey, that was a great job with this. If Gary, that's like a thing. If I could impress Gary with one little thing, I feel good for the day. So if Gary compliments me on, let's say, hey, that was a good pass you did there, or whatever, that it doesn't just make me feel good. It actually makes me want to do better at that pass in the long run. So somebody could show you a technique, and if you're not interested in it, it doesn't really mean much for your game. Yeah, now you're aware of it.
Yeah,
the big deal.
And the other thing about encouragement is there's a better chance you're going to stay in jiu-jitsu.
That's true.
Even if you're not as good as the person that's getting corrected as much, that's what our goal is. Our goal is to keep people training. We want people to train. We want more training partners. We want to expose more people to jiu-jitsu. And I think that's a great way to help the newcomers, instead of just correcting them all the time. Like Byron says, they're going to make a lot of mistakes, and that's normal. But let's encourage them. Let's keep more people doing it. And even on top of that encouragement, you're going to go home feeling that much better. If we can keep a smile on people's face after jiu-jitsu, just to make their day a better time. Just like if you're walking down the street and you smile at somebody, normally that's going to make that person's day better, or they're going to think you're a serial killer or a sexual predator, one of the two. But I would bet that it's going to make their day better.
Oh, it depends on what you're wearing, Gary. But
yeah, definitely.
But what I'm thinking is, like, if you get encouragement in one part of your game, or a specific compliment about something, you get more interested in that. Let's say you hit a very nice sweep, Gary. That was awesome. And now Gary doesn't just think he's got an awesome sweep right there. He wants to do more of that. It looks like that becomes a part of his game that he's going to work on and develop and get even better, opposed to just, one technique he happened to pull off. So I think it really helps with actually the long-term development of somebody, is letting them know, give it and be genuine. Don't just say, oh, great job, I tapped out 19 times in 5 minutes. Yeah, you did great too. That doesn't mean anything. But if they actually do something correctly and they do a good job, give them the encouragement, give them that positive feedback, and they'll have an idea of where they could take their game next. So I like that quote, Gary.
I do too. Great quote. And just for the record, Byron never tapped me out 19 times in 5 minutes, only 18 times.
I'd be happy to tap you out any amount of times in any amount of minutes, Gary. Including one.
Byron, what's that noise mean?
I don't know, but I'm thinking about my negative tap outs that I have to you right now. That nice music is telling us, yeah, you're ahead of me there, so I'm in the negative.
Are you actually keeping track?
Oh yeah, that's.
Is that what all those tattoos you've been having?
Yeah.
I was wondering why you kept getting all those teardrops.
I kept getting the positive tattoo, the ones on my body, and the ones where you get me on the other side, and basically I just have one side of my body completely tattooed.
We have an awesome article this week, Jiu-Jitsu Magazine again. This one's from August 12, 2016, by Ivan Trindade. Ivan, sorry if I spelled or said your last name wrong, Trindade. Great article, 5 lessons to learn as a white belt that'll be worth your entire jiu-jitsu journey. And really, what is better than learning something early in the game, as a white belt, that you'll use, your entire journey? Nothing's better than that. So,
ice cream, Gary.
Yeah, well, ice cream we can use that for our entire jiu-jitsu journey.
Okay, yeah, that is awesome, though, to think that you could learn something your first week or first month of training, and you could keep that with you many, many years or decades.
Yep. And, he starts off talking about how, people drop out. White belt's a tough stage. Most people do drop out there. When you're in the entry level, you don't know much. You're overwhelmed. Just kind of like what we were talking about. You're probably getting corrected a lot and not encouraged enough. But there are a lot of lessons that you can learn if you keep an open mind. Ivan has 5 lessons out there to help you see a bit of the light at the end of the tunnel. Number one is being uncomfortable. You're definitely going to be smashed. You're going to be getting put in some crazy positions. It's not going to be fun all the time. You're going to get twisted, tweaked. You're not going to know much about jiu-jitsu, so you're probably going to lose most of the time, probably just about all the time. You're going to be in some tough spots. But take in that experience. Find a way to deal with it. As you're getting stacked, it's probably hard to breathe. Your neck's getting strained. But just, you'll find a way to stay calm. You're going to find a way to deal with it, to get out of that. And that's going to give you a huge edge, on the mat in the future years. So you're going to be uncomfortable. Find a way to deal with it.
That's true. And that's being able to be comfortable with that, or being able to deal with that discomfort, is a big part of being able to enjoy jiu-jitsu. The second thing he has here is make mistakes and correct them. I mean, that's huge in jiu-jitsu. I hope that you don't go out, shoot in for a double leg takedown, and get guillotined every time you go grapple, Gary. I mean, that just sounds like okay, you're not learning from your mistake. Shoot in, guillotine, shoot in, guillotine, shoot in. Ask the person who's guillotining you, what am I doing wrong? How could I fix this? Yeah, they might have a great guillotine, but you could tune up a few things to where you don't get guillotined every time. Maybe you need to go in and not look at the floor so your head is up, and maybe you could shrug your shoulders a little bit more to hide your neck. A lot of different things you could do, or where you place your head when you actually make contact with the person. A lot of different things, but make those corrections. Make the mistakes. That's great. Go in, take a shot, get guillotined. But try to figure out what's going on. Ask the people. That's great about jiu-jitsu, is the people who are choking you will tell you what you did wrong. It's great. They'll help you not get choked.
Except when it happened to me. When Byron and I first started, and I had a couple weeks advantage of him, but Byron was better than me. And he had one really good move, an armbar from the guard. And I'd get in his guard all the time, and I would reach. And Byron would armbar me. The problem is neither of us knew really what we were doing. Byron knew how to do an armbar, and I knew how to do a reach, which it wasn't, supposed to be done. But so Byron couldn't really tell me what I was doing wrong. He's just like, hey, his arms are out there. So, I probably got armbarred for 6 months straight till Jason Bircher one day told me to have T-Rex arms. So it took me a little while, and I didn't correct my mistakes like I should have, and that's why my arms hurt a little bit. But I stuck with it. Point number 3, listening. I always say we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen twice as much as we speak. And Ivan goes on to say, someone said, when you speak, you're only repeating what you already know. When you listen, you might learn something new. And he's saying that's very, very important as a white belt. So, listen to people. People have been there a while. People have been there longer than you. They're going to tell you, listen to your coach, listen to your higher ranked teammates, soak all this in. You're going to soak up so much new material just by listening, so close the mouth and keep the ears open, make sure you don't have any wax in there, and you will learn. Yeah,
I think this is a huge thing to learn while you're new, and then to keep this with you further down the road while you get more experience. If somebody tells me I'm doing something wrong, no matter what color belt they are, if they're able to show me why it's wrong and capitalize on it, I'm going to listen to that person and learn from them. And in fact, really with today's day and age, many people are going on YouTube and trying to learn things, and that has its place. But really, if you're just fascinated about finding all these clips of somebody doing 90 guillotines in 2 minutes or whatever, that is that really helping you? Or is maybe the few minutes you have after a roll when a purple belt tells you, I'm passing your guard because you're doing this. This is wrong. Don't do that. That is advice that is specific to your game. It's something you're doing, and there's not a video like that on YouTube that could help you. That person is giving you one-on-one personal advice just for you on what you're doing and what you need to make a change in. Listen to that advice. It's far better than watching YouTube videos for 3 or 4 hours.
Number 4 is tapping. Actually, I thought it was taping at first. I thought we were going to
taping the hands.
Have to learn to tape our hands up. But tap away, tap, tap, tap. My nickname used to be Sir Taps-a-lot. The white belt is the time to tap. Tapping is going to keep you healthy. It's going to allow you to train longer. It's also going to let you know how the techniques work. And basically, tapping is going to teach you offense and defense. It's very important. everybody's going to tap. It's hard, I think, when you first start, especially if you come in with a little bit of ego. You come in bench pressing 300, 400 pounds. You think you're pretty tough, and you get tapped out by the guy with the tape on his glasses between the eyes there. And it's going to happen. Keep an open mind, learn from it, and go on to train another day. If you don't tap, something's going to get hurt. You're not going to be on the mat. So tap, tap, tap.
Yeah, and the times I've been injured, it's been from a non-tapping thing. I wasn't stuck in a submission, didn't have time to tap. It's been like, a fall or something like that, just more of an accident than actual being too stupid to tap. Yeah, I've been choked out a couple times, but that was I thought I was going to get out. I did avoid tapping. I'll tap from a choke. If I think I'm going to get out, I'll try to work that and occasionally take a nap on that one. But tap earlier is better for your limbs, better for your brain if you tap before the choke is locked in too deep. So couldn't agree with that more. Big safety thing, big for your long-term enjoyment. Learn that early. You need to learn that early, and then keep that with you. Enjoy the moment. Number 5. This ultimately is something you need to hopefully pick up as a white belt and then keep with you. White belt's kind of fun because you're not supposed to be good at jiu-jitsu. You're a white belt. Go there, enjoy it. If you have a stupid question, ask a stupid question. There's really, we've heard all the questions before. They're really not stupid. People are wondering themselves. They just don't want to ask them. So as a white belt, you get kind of that freedom to just not be that great at jiu-jitsu. Ask away. If you want to try a technique, go for it. It may not work out for you, but you're white belt, try some stuff. Enjoy the process. It's like if you go back into school and go back into your younger time, enjoy the moment. Like a lot of times you're just too stressed about trying to do real good at something. Enjoy it. Gary, what do you think about that?
I agree with it. Enjoy it. Like you said, go back to, you wish you could go back to your, high school years. And that's exactly what I did. I ended up with a fake birth certificate, went back through the high school years, and still got cut from the wrestling team. So, but I did enjoy it. I got a little better grades this time. And plus I could drive. All
right. Well, that wraps up that article. There was a lot of good stuff, Gary. And if you could pick those things up while you're early on in jiu-jitsu or incorporate them now, whether you've been training for, a decade or two, have those in your game or have those in your mindset. It'll be better for you. So we'll put a link to that article in the show notes, and you'll be able to check it out. Gary, what do you think about getting on with today's interview?
Byron, I think it's time to start the interview with Brent Lillard of Govsmart.
He is the most interesting grappler in the world.
His rear naked choke is so potent that opponents have been known to disrobe upon contact. When he was a kid, he would always compete in the adult division. Now that he is an adult, he is considering making a run at the kids title. He signed up for a sumo wrestling match. The group Salt and Pepper showed up without warning to sing their song, Push It. He not only pushed it, he pushed it real good.
I don't always listen to podcasts, but when I do, I prefer the BJJ Brick podcast. Stay sweaty, my friends.
All right, my friends, I'm happy to bring Brent Lillard to the BJJ Brick podcast. Brent, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk to you. We've got this is a really interesting guest this week here. You run a company called Govsmart, or you co-founded a company. Tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the company and what's going on.
Sure. So my name is Brent Lillard. I'm from Madison County, Virginia. I started Govsmart back in 2010, early 2010, with one of my best buddies, Hamza Durrani. And we basically sell IT products to the federal government. So we started out of the kitchen, and we've been growing really fast. We've been one of the fastest growing companies in the U.S. The last several years, and we were the fastest growing computer hardware company in the whole United States in 2014. So we've had a lot of growth. We're looking hopefully to break about 100 million in sales this year, and we've only got about 25 employees. So it's definitely been a quick jump to the bigger numbers, and we kind of attribute a lot of that stuff to jiu-jitsu. So looking forward to talking about it.
I'm looking forward to hearing that. You focus mostly on computer hardware. Can you be a little bit more specific with that?
Yeah, so we resell all types of equipment from HP, Dell, Apple, all types of software, basically anything that turns on or has anything to do with technology, and even cabling and racks and nuts and bolts, things like that. So basically anything the government buys that has anything to do with technology. But we also can sell miscellaneous things like spray paint and really whatever they need. So we play into some small business programs. There's one called Hub Zone, which is historically underutilized business zone. And the government has to spend a certain percentage of all their buys. They have to go to Hub Zone companies, so it's 3%. And most agencies haven't hit that goal, so they've made all these rules to give us some advantages in contracting. So that's kind of how it all started out, and we've been just going from there.
I got to know, like the classic question, what came first, the chicken or the egg? What came first, Govsmart or Jiu-Jitsu for you?
Jiu-Jitsu. I started doing Jiu-Jitsu in 2005 at George Mason. And then one of my best friends, Adam Dean, and he had a martial arts background from stand-up martial arts and did some wrestling and stuff like that. And so we always talked about that. And then I took that Jiu-Jitsu class, and we were, going over some moves, and we both thought, oh, this is really cool. We should join the gym. And so we joined Pedro Sauer's gym. It was actually before Pedro moved there. But it was One Spirit Martial Arts in Herndon, Virginia. And then Pedro Sauer ended up moving to town. We didn't even know who he was at first, and we helped unload his U-Haul at his house and became friends with him. And he's just a really great guy, and we didn't even realize we were kind of stumbling into the pure jiu-jitsu, come from the source. They always say, the closer you drink to the source, the purer the situation. I don't know the exact quotes they use, but it's definitely makes a big difference starting out with that type of ideology that he had, and learning from him. And now we train down in Charlottesville, Virginia, under a really phenomenal coach, Gordon Emery, who runs Charlottesville BJJ. And he's just a phenomenal coach, and our jiu-jitsu has grown a lot since we came down here.
That sounds good, and it's very fortunate that you had such a great start with somebody, and now you're still doing very good there in Charlottesville. I just want to get to know like you on the mat a little bit better. Can you maybe describe your game or maybe a few favorite techniques or positions?
Sure, yeah. So I'm a brown belt. I have a lot of people would call me a guard player. Definitely like the mount too, but I basically like any position that has my legs in play. I like to use my legs a lot, so I like to do a lot of arm bars and triangles and things like that from the guard. And then I have a Z-keel that I do a lot from mount. It's one of my known moves that buddy that rolls with me that I've got a good Z-keel. But yeah, I like to I roll. I've been described as rolling kind of like inch by inch. I like to get in a position and then slowly, technically move my way up until I'm in a better position. I just have a kind of a someone called me a tar pit because it's you can get kind of stuck, and I like to use leverage, and it's kind of like a jack, where you just slowly make little micro movements and work your way up. So I don't roll as flailing around as some people are moving a whole lot. I like to kind of break it down to small pieces.
Sounds like a very controlling style where you're constantly making small steps towards the right direction for you. And having grappled against people like that, it's like I'm constantly losing a little bit of ground, and it never really gets better, barring the nice escape I have been able to get a couple times. But that's a very smart way to play jiu-jitsu. Just constantly taking ground where you can and inching your way and funneling the path of your opponent or your teammate really towards where we want it to be.
And we try to balance out on the keep it playful, keep it real. I know some of the Gracies have been talking about that a lot, and it's been a big philosophy. And I think one of the reasons our jiu-jitsu down in Charlottesville has grown the way it has, that we have a really healthy mix of keeping it real, where we roll hard sometimes, quite a bit. We roll fairly hard, where we are using muscles and things like that. But then we also have keep it playful rolls where we just kind of loosely, where you're just purely focusing on technique and not competing. So I think you really need a balance of the two. If you just do one, not the other, then you're going to be missing something in your game.
Absolutely. I think a lot of times the people who are just like into that more competitive mode, they don't see the value in that playfulness. But really, that's a great time for learning and exploring other sides of jiu-jitsu. That if you only play, like if you only pulled guard and tried to get mount or try to finish with armbar or triangle, you would be missing out on a lot of other parts of the game that you wouldn't really find unless you're being a little more playful. I like that. So started jiu-jitsu, and
same goes for the keeping it playful. If you don't, if you keep it playful all the time, it makes it really difficult when you get a real resisting opponent that's stronger than you. You're not used to what works and what doesn't work, and when you train, quite a bit in a keep it real environment, you really learn, the basics are the best thing. You can really finish everybody when you're high enough level with nothing but the armbar, triangle, and maybe a cross choke. You don't really need fancy moves. You just need to understand the position and what you're doing, and then the basics really can be the best moves.
Brent, the varying between the two different modes, I like that. Does it vary per day? Like today I'm going to be playful, or is it really judged on who you're rolling with?
Yeah, based on who you're rolling with and just what mood you're in. A lot of times, just in the middle of, we kind of always start off keeping it real a little bit, but never too hard, kind of a relaxed keeping it real, where you're both trying to tap the other one out, but you're not necessarily handing them everything. And then, halfway through the roll, especially if there's a big difference in skill level, if I'm rolling with someone that's, new and isn't used to it, it's not fun for me just to dominate the entire time. So I try to give them some things and let them work. And then sometimes we just, we agree to flow roll. I like to call it flow rolling, where you just, you kind of roll a little bit more sloppy, leave space, and you really pay attention to how they move and, how they fill those gaps and, just how they react to how you react. So it's interesting. There's a lot to it. Jiu-jitsu is really complicated.
Yeah. and we're just really talking about modes of training and development versus how the complicatedness of actual techniques and the mental side of things. So how did you introduce jiu-jitsu to your coworkers? Tell me about the early on development of this.
Yeah. So, it started out just Hamza Durrani and I out of the house. And so I had jiu-jitsu mats from, when I first started jiu-jitsu, I got really into it. And so this is 2010. So I'd been training for a little over, about 5 years in January when we moved down. And Hamza had never had any martial arts background whatsoever. He didn't do a whole lot of physical activity that was that type of coordination based. And so I started just, kind of showing him some moves and kind of, saying, oh, here's how you choke somebody, here's how you defend yourself in this way, that way. And he got into it and said, oh, I really want to learn this. And so we started rolling. I don't know if he got his own gi or if I gave him a gi, I can't remember, but we started rolling at the house, and we've actually got a video on YouTube of when we were first starting out, or when he was first starting out. I was a blue belt at the time. I'd been, again, training for a while, but he had no coordination, and then he, I saw him change, over the years into a beast, someone that could really hold his own in 99% of the situations. It was really amazing to see him have that massive of a physical transformation. And so by the point that we started hiring other people, we had already, fully, kind of taken it on as a Govsmart culture just from the two of us. And so we hired another guy, Glenn Willard, who's one of my best friends he is, my childhood best friend. I grew up with this guy. And he had done a little bit of jiu-jitsu off and on from when we had started. So he was into it a little bit too. So he always goes to Brazil with us. And he's not one of the ones that trains as hard as some others, but he definitely has been into it, and he's had at least, over 100 hours of jiu-jitsu himself. So, so it's been pretty neat. Started as a small group, and then as we grew, it was just kind of, hey, this is just part of Govsmart. You come here, you get a free jiu-jitsu membership for anyone that wants it. And if you the only rule is if you don't use the membership, you have to pay for it. So we pay for it as long as you go, but if you don't go, then you're on the hook.
That's a very interesting benefit, I guess. Kind of an incentive to try it out and to be mixed in with the culture there. So do you guys train? You guys work like 9 to 5, 8 to 5, and then go train afterwards, or is there training during lunch break, or how's it really?
Yeah, there's training.
How's it work?
Yeah, a lot of the employees leave during lunch. We have Monday and Friday open mat. That's what Adam and I will usually go do, and then there's technique classes all the days at lunch. and so we do have several people that go to lunch classes, and then some people train in the mornings. And but every afternoon around I think I like to train around 7:30 to 9. It's just my schedule. That just works well for me because I can eat dinner and let it digest a little bit before going. But it's kind of all different. It just depends on your level. There's beginner classes and advanced classes, and then open mats.
Sounds good. And so is it at a different place entirely, or do you have mats available there in the office, or how's that work?
Yeah, we actually don't anymore. We had mats when it was at my house. I still got those at my house and built out a little jiu-jitsu gym there. But we mostly train at the Seaville BJJ under Gordon. So he just opened a big new gym. It's beautiful, and he's still under construction, but it's going to be really awesome. And just a ton of space. One of the best jiu-jitsu spaces I've ever seen, actually. So it's going to be really neat to watch it develop.
It's incredible. And so
And it's close. It's only like maybe 2 minutes from here.
Oh, that's perfect. What percentage of your employees train?
I would say probably about half of us have been on the mat at some point, and then a third of us train regularly.
Okay. But there's a chunk that have never really even looked into it as something that they want to try?
Correct, yes. A couple have just, gotten on the mat once. They weren't comfortable with it. And, some just have been injured, or, a lot of people have problems that they, can't really get on the mat. One guy broke his leg really bad right when he started here, and so he hasn't been healed enough to do it. And there's, everybody's got a reason for for not training, but, I think it's really beneficial to everybody. But, I'm kind of a hard example because I've had, some downtime due to some pretty significant injuries, and had surgery on my knee, and a lot of stuff that's due to jiu-jitsu. And it's kind of hard to explain to people, when they see that you're hurt a lot, and they're like, oh, well, why would you do this to your body? And you're like, well, at the same time, I'm in much, much better shape than, 90% of people that are my age. I'm in better shape than I've ever been. I feel phenomenal, but it's just that, your joints do take wear and tear, and you just have to understand that as part of jiu-jitsu. If you're going to train hard and you're going to keep it real and really learn the, what I feel is the real jiu-jitsu, I think that, just kind of comes with the territory. You're going to get your knuckles bruised every once in a while, and, the skin's going to be off your toes, and you're going to be, aching when you're walking up and down the steps after training, but that's part of it, and it's part of, what I actually like about it. So you just have to get used to it.
One of my training partners, Jeremy, wants me to ask you, how do you tell people about jiu-jitsu and who are maybe new to the company or who haven't tried it yet? What's the sell? How do you approach them with inviting them to come in and try it out?
A lot of people will comment on our vibe that we have, the whole group. All the ones that train together, we're a lot closer than the average group. And when we go in, and give a presentation somewhere, everyone comments on our confidence and just our, comfort with each other. We have a very non-competitive vibe within the group. We're all competitive in a good way, in a fun, productive way, but we don't, we're really pulling each other up the entire time, even during meetings and stuff. So I think it starts off with people commenting about, why are you guys different? What is it that, you guys just seem different, and we'll kind of throw in there, well, a lot of it is that we train together. When you've had your coworkers, sweaty ass in your face for long periods of time, trying to get out of the way. And, then you got, just all kinds of gross and uncomfortable things happening to you at jiu-jitsu. And when you've been through all that with these people, and you battle it out, and you teach each other, and you get each other in submissions where, so much trust is involved, when they catch your arm, you say tap and they let you go. And vice versa, when you have someone else's arm and they tap, you have to be, really quick to let up. And I think that type of training just builds some kind of a, it reinforces the trust, and really makes you different. And so I think, to make a long story short, I think that people notice the difference in us and will ask about it, and then we kind of attribute that to jiu-jitsu, and then, they'll come, check it out and think it looks really cool, and we'll put them against one of our smaller jiu-jitsu, practitioners, and let them wrestle around and let them feel it, and then usually they're sold.
That's cool. I don't know if you get the maybe not the smart sell, telling them that they might be a sweaty ass in their face before the night is over. But it's true that, like you mentioned, the non-competitive vibe that you get in the office. I think that comes a lot from that jiu-jitsu, because if you and me are rolling and you hit me with that arm bar, and I clearly made a mistake, I could ask you, hey, what did I do wrong? And you will tell me what I did wrong. So it'll be harder for you to do next time. And that's something that a lot of sports they don't get that. But something about jiu-jitsu and the culture that we have on the mats, that's a common thing to help people out right there on the spot.
Exactly. You really have to recognize when you go into that gym, whatever gym it is, that those are the crew that are going to have your back in a fight. They're not the ones you're fighting. And so, you always want to, show them all of your weaknesses, and then by showing them all your weaknesses and showing them all your strengths and, every little trick in the book that you have, when they know that and you train with them on a regular basis, your tricks get that much sharper, because you have to trick the person that knows that you're trying to trick them with that. And you have to, do a move against somebody that's expecting it. And so it's a completely different level when you train with those, we're just really lucky. We've got a lot of really tough, intelligent guys that we train with on a regular basis, and it really steel sharpens steel.
All right, Brent, I'm a new hire to the company. You've told me a little bit about jiu-jitsu. I think I'm going to try out tonight, but I'm a little nervous. What kind of a thing would you say to somebody in that situation?
Well, I would go with them the first class, and kind of sit there and. Gordon has an intro to jiu-jitsu class I usually try to start people at, and it's, for people that have never done it before, so it's kind of easy, and, we just kind of go through, and, they wear athletic clothes, you don't even have to have the gi yet, and it's, kind of like a workout, so you really just kind of say you're going to hold your hand through it, and hold their hand through it, and you sit there with them until they get more comfortable, and then eventually you're hooked, and they're going on their own, and you don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, I think that's valuable.
It's always nerve-wracking at first.
Yeah, that's great advice for anybody who somebody's asking them, hey, what's it like? Tell me about a class. Try to go with them. They know at least somebody there. They trust you, and you can walk them through. And I like the fact you guys have a beginner class, because a lot of times somebody comes to their first class and they're learning some very complicated sweep that day that they don't even understand what a guard really is. And so I think that beginner class is a great idea.
You almost have to start people off with many private lessons and just kind of, get them familiar with the concept. The guard is one of the things that they need to learn the first, because that just feels really unnatural. People don't want to wrap their legs around each other. And then once you've done jiu-jitsu for a while, none of that stuff matters. You just get completely desensitized to people in a lot of ways. When people are looking at you in the eye, really close to you, becoming physically intimidating, all that stuff lessens. After jiu-jitsu, you just become immune to it.
Brent, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts about maybe compare or contrast the difference between the culture of a jiu-jitsu gym and the typical workplace environment.
The jiu-jitsu gym in a typical workplace environment is they're completely different. A typical workplace environment I've found can be really intercompetitive, not necessarily in a good way, where everyone's trying to get the same promotions and everybody's trying to look better than everyone else, and they think that's the strategy. At Govsmart, it's not like that at all. We've built a more of a jiu-jitsu culture out of our in the office here. But I think in jiu-jitsu, when you go into a gym, if you've even got a stripe on your white belt, and you show up at a brand new gym, the odds are all these people are going to receive you as a brother. They're going to, teach you. If they're much better than you, they're not going to hurt you. They're going to try to teach you all their moves and, talk to you about jiu-jitsu. Everybody's really friendly. It's kind of like a brotherhood. The girls are the same way. We're all like a big family. I call it a brotherhood. I guess you could say a sisterhood too for them. But it's been, it's a neat experience actually walking into a new place with a bunch of strangers and having a bunch of friends immediately. And then the higher up in belt you go, it's even more so because people know how into it you are. If you have a brown belt or even a blue belt, you are, clearly you've dedicated some serious time to jiu-jitsu. And so it means that you just have something in common like that. And everybody is, I don't know, it's a totally different environment than what you normally see. Very different than what you experience in high school and all these different things. And it's more so where everyone already knows each other almost.
Yeah. You hear like jiu-jitsu is for anybody. Anybody can do jiu-jitsu. That's true. Anybody who wants to could do it. But there's often that this isn't for me type of thing. I'm big into somebody wants to try it. That's great. Check it out. If you like it, great. If not, give it a good try. And if it's not for you, that's fine. Do something else. And clearly, you've got a lot of employees training, but it's not for everybody. Not everybody is able to find joy in the process of getting kind of beat up all the time and finding that bond. Is there a tipping point?
It's an acquired taste. It's kind of like alcohol. It doesn't taste so good at first, but once you get used to it.
That's a good comparison. Is there a tipping point in maybe, if you could guess, in the culture of a business where if you have a certain percentage of people that train to where the benefits spill over to everybody? The whole
Absolutely.
Culture. What do you think that is?
Absolutely. The more the better. I think the management team alone, if the management team trains together, and our whole management team does train together, when you don't have inner conflict on the level of managers, and you don't have employees running to one person and then running to the next guy for different reasons, and you're really viewed as a force, unity from the outside, I feel like that makes the company a lot stronger because the conflicts are all squashed much faster. People don't get that culture of kind of separating everyone. We all kind of operate as a team. So our two vice presidents and then the co-owner and myself, we were not only were we really good friends before Govsmart ever started, but we all have trained together pretty hard. And gone to Brazil, 3 times together, to train and, just done all these things together through jiu-jitsu. And it's been really, really a good experience. But I think that you kind of end up being the glue that holds the company together. The ones that train have a little bit calmer of a mentality. It's just kind of hard to explain, but they end up being kind of the more stable ones, I think.
Now an employee can get confidence, or I guess confidence taken away from them from many different places. Have you seen where an employee kind of came in and was struggling with work, and something on the mat gave them more confidence on the mat, and then also that spilled over to the business side of things?
For sure. I think it's been noticeable with everybody that trains, but it's some people that have trouble with that type of thing, they go to jiu-jitsu and they feel like it's not for them. They don't stick through it. Some people don't have the mentality to really just keep going and get better. So, again, it's not for everybody. It really just depends on the personality type. But I think anybody that does choose to do it is going to get the same benefit out of it. Everybody I've ever seen that has joined jiu-jitsu and stuck with it has had massive improvement. We had one employee at Govsmart. We actually hired him after he had joined jiu-jitsu and lost all his weight, but he lost 160 pounds in jiu-jitsu. So when we met him, he was morbidly obese, and I couldn't even get my legs around him when he came to his first class. He just wanted to lose weight for college. And then 5 years later, he had been training like a crazy person, just training like crazy. And he lost all his weight down to having a six-pack and just being in great shape, all from just jiu-jitsu. And he worked with us for a while, but then had to move back. But then we had another employee that lost 125 pounds doing grappling, doing mostly jiu-jitsu. And it's that weight difference alone, that health benefit is really hard to explain. The difference in personality that it has. People become a lot more confident, a lot more driven, and they have more of a can-do attitude once they've gone through that type of transformation.
Yeah, I could try to imagine the seemingly impossible goal of losing anywhere near that much weight, and then actually accomplishing something, and then how that would spill over. Health benefits aside, which that's huge. Just like I did this is something that I was able to change about myself. What's next? So that's amazing that's happened there in your training group there. What other team building things have you found success with other than being on the mat with the people?
We do a lot of stuff. We go snowboarding together. We do a lot of trips, a lot of happy hours. I feel like happy hours are always good. Team building exercise. You really get to know people when you go party with them on a regular basis. And we do. We'll go out and we went to Aspen one year with the whole company, and rented a big place, and then we bought season passes at Snowshoe, which is a local, sort of local, a few hours away, resort in West Virginia. So we had, for the last 2 seasons, we had those passes, and we were able to stay. We got a big house out there. So we're always doing random stuff. We're getting ready to do a horseback riding trip with the whole company, and we're doing a camping trip with most of the company this weekend. So it's really, kind of a constant thing. I think you can't really pinpoint it down to one thing. You really just need to be close as a group. And one of the best strategies I think that I've found, after hiring a bunch of people and trying to keep a group together, is that when you have one employee that is toxic, it'll drag all the other employees down too. If you have one that has bad attitude and is talking bad all the time, that'll eventually be 2, and then it'll be 3, and it'll be 6, and then you got the whole company fighting with each other. So it's really important to keep everyone, in really good spirits. And when you have one that doesn't, fit the atmosphere, you've got to make changes, because it's kind of like a cancer. It'll bring the whole company down.
Yeah, and I guess the benefit of doing jiu-jitsu is, at the club level, somebody's kind of a jerk. They get a lot of hard rolls really early on, it seems like, and it's really kind of hard for them to kind of just get their feet together, underneath them and figure out what's going on, versus somebody who comes in who's not so toxic. They learn jiu-jitsu opposed to just feeling it all the time. But at the business level, you can't just smash somebody till they leave. You've got to actually deal with them and try to figure out what's best for that person long term.
Exactly.
But so it sounds like you do other team building things as well to help maybe obviously build the whole team, have fun together, but not everybody wants to get on the mat and roll around. So definitely see value in bringing the rest of the people in to do fun trips and happy hour and just getting to know each other outside the office in other situations.
Right. And anyone that doesn't do jiu-jitsu gets a constant ear lashing. They're constantly being told how much they're missing out and begged to come to open mats. So we do a number on all the employees that are local, especially here in Charlottesville. We get we're eventually going to get them all to train. It's just going to take a long time.
They should take note that the people upper in the company are all trained. If they want to work their way up that way, it might be a good idea to get on the mats.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, the ones that train jiu-jitsu have definitely risen faster than others, for sure.
How has this affected turnover?
I feel like the ones that train regularly, I don't know if it has affected turnover. I actually had one guy that left. I feel like jiu-jitsu might have been some of his motivation. He joined and wasn't going, and so I was going to start charging him for it. And he was. We've had a bunch of random situations happen, but some people can't handle getting beat up by people much smaller than them, and they'll leave. So just kind of depends.
So in some respects, it maybe early on it's increased a little bit of turnover, but people who are actually training and with you for a little while.
Only in one case I can think of. I would say overall, it's good for turnover as far as bonding us all together and making us a healthier environment, a happier environment. So I feel like in that way it's reducing the turnover, but at the same time we've had a decent amount of turnover here. It hasn't been easy. A lot of our roles are pretty difficult, and you need a perfect match. And when they're not a perfect match, they got to go because it's not. Again, it'll drag down the whole company. That's been one of our, I think, things that we've been successful at is when someone doesn't work out, they got to go.
I see. I'm getting an overall vibe of how important the people you have working for you are, and that they're the right fit, and they're part of the team. And that seems like such a big part of your success there.
Yeah, that's all it is. I mean, any company, I feel like, it's all the people that are running it. If you look at the totality of, the whole Govsmart is one big picture. I think of it as all these individual people doing their role. So I've got, just phenomenal people in my accounting side, on the sales side, on the engineering and management side. I mean, I've got just the best group. And they're all my best friends. If Govsmart were to close tomorrow, we would all, for the most part, be, the same group of buddies that were going out. So it's, I've been really fortunate to work with people that I have been able to, I would definitely say that 99% of Govsmart's success is due to the people that are here.
Brent, I want to throw a question at you. I want you to mentally switch roles with where you're at now, and be an employee at a company about the similar size of the one you're at now, and nobody there trains at all, but you train, and you want to try to introduce this idea of training with your coworkers. How would you do that? How would you approach your coworkers or the management staff, or how would you do this as just an employee that likes jiu-jitsu?
I think it kind of happens over time. I don't think it can happen in one quick conversation. I think they have to see the benefits that it's had on your life and comment on it, or, somehow notice it, and then you kind of attribute it to jiu-jitsu, and then they become interested in it that way. I think you have to have a really open, friendly approach to, offering to take people with you to class and walk them right in and make sure that it's not uncomfortable. It's going to be totally, you're going to be right there with them, and it's, really not a big deal. As far as, being nervous, the first time, it's really not a big deal. I think that's the most important thing, but, again, it's, I think you have to kind of lead by example, and people have to comment like, oh, you're in great shape. What are you doing? Or, oh, you seem very confident, or, maybe you're having a conversation about, self-defense and explaining some different, strategies, and they think that's interesting. They want to learn about it. But I feel like, everybody that's, been near me that I've convinced to join jiu-jitsu, which has been, several people, quite a few people, since I started have joined, that I've known, and it's really interesting. They've all, done it in a different way. Some take years to get on the mat for the first time, and others, as soon as you tell them about it, they're right there.
Yeah. I want to get some advice from you for some of the newer students, because I think you're in a great situation where you're constantly introducing people to jiu-jitsu, and you've seen that a lot. What advice would you have for somebody who is only able to get on the mat like once a week, maybe twice, and they aren't able to train as much as they would like to, but at that level, are they able to make it worth their while and get a benefit out of it?
Absolutely, once a week. I'd say, twice a week is ideal for starting out. It's hard on your body at first, so I think that people need time to heal. If you're going to roll hard, do it as a actual exercise, where you're grappling with other people. Twice a week is quite a lot at first. Once a week, you can definitely learn some stuff. And I would say, even if you could only go once a month, it's better than nothing. But you're not going to get the full jiu-jitsu effect until you're training at least twice a week.
Brent, what frustrated you at the beginning of your training?
Gosh, I was a gym rat. As soon as I started, I was staying there until midnight. I just loved it. And I was not, that's one thing, I was kind of expecting to get my butt kicked when I walked in there, so that helped me. I think I've seen more of a struggle with people that are not expecting to get their butt kicked, and they can't deal with the fact that they are at first. But I would say probably injuries, just feeling like I was, like I hurt a toe or something random would happen. That was a little bit frustrating at first, but, really jiu-jitsu's been mostly, positive for me, except for a couple injuries. It's been, purely positive.
That's good to hear. And,
for it.
Some people have that attitude that it's not a frustrating thing, and you just deal with, getting kind of beat by people, bested by somebody else, and that's not a negative experience. Yeah, we get those injuries, and those are frustrating no matter what happens, but hopefully we heal past those and keep training. If you could go back, and I'm going to ask you this question kind of twice, once on the business side of things and once on the mat, and if you can go back and give yourself some advice early on in the process, what would you say to yourself on the mat?
I would definitely tell myself to watch my knees, my neck, and my lower back. I would say, you also got to watch your shoulders, but especially my knees. I was really rough on them at first. I played a lot of rubber guard type positions without really knowing my limits. And those positions can be safe if you know what you're doing, but I didn't know what I was doing. And I directly didn't follow some advice about what not to do in those situations. It's kind of complicated to explain, but basically when your body is torqued into a pretzel, you don't want to engage your muscles and try to force your way out. When your posture is in a unnatural position, you don't want to engage the muscles too much. It can be really a problem. So I popped an LCL in my left knee, destroyed both my meniscuses, or menisci, I guess, I don't know. And then I've had some significant lower back problems, and I've gone to chiropractor, and that actually was a huge help to me. I was surprised. The chiropractor was a big benefit. But I would just say to be careful with the joints and just realize that even though it doesn't hurt, or you can handle it without tapping, when your joint is taking damage is when you should tap, or before that happens. You shouldn't wait for the pain always. You should, kind of be a little bit more sensitive with how fast you tap. That's what I would say. Tap faster.
Tap faster. I like when you're stuck and you're in a submission, that's a great time to tap. You don't need to even wait for your arm to get extended. When you really feel like you're done, especially if the person's more experienced,
exactly.
They're usually
When they're pulling your arm out, before it straightens, you should be tapping. There's always that split second they're going to keep going. If you wait for the pain, they might have broken it by the time you've even tapped. So you got to learn when you're in danger, and I think that's a big part of jiu-jitsu is teaching the new people, like, when they're in danger. They got to understand in slow motion that, hey, when their arm is out like this, if you don't tap, this is what's going to happen. It's going to go backwards. And I've unfortunately seen plenty of times where people don't tap in time, and bad things can happen.
Yeah.
You got to definitely be aware.
It sounds like you've adjusted your game a little bit to kind of protect your knees, your lower back, and your body, and you're playing maybe a little bit more of a long-term game. Is that true?
Correct. Yeah, I try to stay out of pretzel-like positions as much as possible now. I still, am known for being pretty flexible and, torquing myself around a little bit. And I need to stop doing that. But you realize that with perfect technique, you don't need all that. If you have the right answers, you can keep your back straight, keep your posture good, and then also still do those same moves. It's the same with you just learn better technique. Like when you're doing triangles, you learn how to turn your hips out to the side so that when they're stacking you, it doesn't hurt, and you learn how to make frames and do things just to half of jiu-jitsu ends up being about protecting yourself anyway.
Yep, sounds good. And I also want to ask you that same question. If you can go back and give yourself some business advice pretty early on in the process, what would you say?
Oh gosh, it worked out so well that I was careful with what I said to myself just to jinx it. But I would definitely say to be really careful with who we hire. Make sure that we, a lot of our decisions of hiring have been just perfect and have worked out really great. Anyone that's still here, it's been great. But we definitely made a few mistakes in partnerships, and people. I was a little bit too trusting, and I still am kind of adamant on. I think it's very important to be open and trusting with people in business. And if you shut down all the walls and you get too defensive and try to worry about everyone stealing your ideas and things like that, you'll really shut yourself off to a lot of opportunity. So I wouldn't take it that far. But then again, I definitely made a few mistakes in who I trusted and how I interacted with it. So it's always been a learning experience.
Wow, that's a hard question. Yeah, but it goes again towards the people that you have around you and you're working with. So that's kind of rings that same tone. It's good to hear. What are some traits that you see in somebody before they get on the mat, like a coworker, that you would think that they would be a great student on the mat? Some personality traits or something that they have that you think, they'll pick up.
Patience and intelligence. Anyone that's got a hungry mind, likes to learn things, and is patient is going to do really, really well at jiu-jitsu. But also people that are really athletic. I mean, it's kind of interesting because I've seen so many people get into it. You can have like the super jock that gets really into it and does great, and you can have the kind of nerdier, like the bookworm type personality that also thrives at it because their mind power is strong enough that lets their technique, they become more technical and less athletic, but that works really well in jiu-jitsu. So I think there's a lot of different personality types, but it's usually the eager, the ones that have energy they're the ones that are more likely going to actually join.
Cool.
Some people are just down on life and depressed, and there's no way that you can get them on the mat.
But really, some of those people, once they get on the mat, they kind of build themselves up, but they have to get past that first hurdle, which is so difficult sometimes.
Right.
All right. Do you want to give any contact information or?
Sure. Yeah. Everybody can contact me. It's at if you go to www.govsmart.com. That's govsmart.com. There's a contact us button. It has my full info, cell phone number, email address is brent@govsmart.com. So anybody feel free to ask questions or whatever I can do to help.
Okay, thank you. I'll put a link in there as well. So thank you for sharing that. Brent, I've had a pleasure talking with you. I've learned a lot about business. Learned a lot about how you've incorporated that Jiu-Jitsu into your business there and the benefits it has provided. Thank you very much for talking with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
I'd like to thank Brent Lillard for taking the time out to talk to us. And, like we talked about earlier in the show, I just think that's so awesome to incorporate Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu into your sales force, into the workplace. And I just think about everything I've learned from Jiu-Jitsu, kind of like a lot of the stuff he's talked about. And, just so much more confidence. I have carried it from the mat to home to work to just my everyday life. And Jiu-Jitsu has done a lot more for me besides just making me a better Jiu-Jitsu player. Better on the mat, with better moves. I've just become so much more confident. I look at no matter what happens at work, hey, this is nothing I haven't done. I mean, anything I've done on the mat, in the wrestling room, in the jiu-jitsu room is 50 times tougher than whatever my boss could ask me to do. So it has led to a lot of confidence. It's done so much for me in my professional life. And I just think, it's an awesome idea what Brent has going for him at Govsmart. Yeah, and we often talk about the bonding experience between teammates, how close the friendship is. It seems like you make your friends in school and then you part ways and it's like you make a few more friends, but really it's hard as an adult to get out there and make a new set of friends. But jiu-jitsu is not that way. It's such a trying experience and there's so much depth to be on the mats with somebody that you make new friends as adults, and then to take that and to kind of bring that into the workplace and to have these teammates that you're friends with on the mat, you're friends with at work. You want them to succeed at both being on the mat and being at work, that you're not sabotaging each other, not backstabbing each other, trying to play little political games. You're trying to support each other to help the entire business do better. That's just fantastic. So I hope to see more jiu-jitsu clubs kind of formed around work, or maybe more businesses. Maybe you should reach out to local clubs and say, hey, can we get a discount if we get 5 or more of our employees to come train? That type of a deal. That'd be a really great way to help businesses have that teamwork atmosphere kind of boosted a little bit, and to all the other benefits, fitness, confidence, and all those things as well. I really think there's a big opportunity for much more growth in jiu-jitsu, and I think this is a big area for that. So that was I really enjoyed the interview. Kind of just so much to there, and to see the success they're having, and so much credit given to jiu-jitsu and how much has helped them. So that was cool. Yep. So if you need to apply for a job there, we do have his contact information. So he is probably going to get a lot of resumes. I would love to work there. Send him a highlight video of your mat skills and yeah. I wonder, like, if the interviews, if they talk about jiu-jitsu at all, that would be kind of crazy. But I mean, I guess not, because jiu-jitsu is just a small portion. You have to be able to sell. You have to know the product first before he'd hire you. But that'd be neat. Yeah. Well, Gary, would you rather hire the person with a great attitude and no knowledge of what you wanted them to do, or have a lot of knowledge but have a poor attitude? I would probably rather the attitude. In my opinion, is the biggest thing. Yeah, that's me. I would rather hire that person, with a better attitude, and to me, I think if you have the attitude, anything else, you can learn anything else. Yep. I just think a lot of times that's what's missing is the attitude. So yeah, I guess you're right there, Barn. the skills of doing things at work can be trained.
But if you're walking around as a grumpy person, that's something's wrong. Something else is off balance with your life. Maybe jiu-jitsu will help you be a happy person at work too. I don't know. But next week, Gary, we got
so many positives from jiu-jitsu. It's gonna help you at the workplace, no matter what.
Yeah. It'll help you on and off the mat. That's what we always say, and I stand by that, Gary.
Me too.
Gary, this week we have another edition of Mat Tales.
Oh, I tell you, I love Mat Tales. It's one of my favorite times. And I can't tell you why, but it is.
This will be part 4 of Mat Tales. I'm titling this one January. So here we go. This is Mat Tales. We bring you amazing jiu-jitsu stories. The story might be funny, unfortunate. It could be about an epic fail or an epic win. So sit back, my friend, relax, dry off your sweat from rolling, and enjoy Mat Tales. It was drilling time at the gym. We were lined up in a large classroom waiting for our turn to drill the position with an opponent. I noticed a young lady waiting in front of me. She seemed a little apprehensive, and I hadn't seen her at the gym before. I yelled at one of my mates, "Hey Albie, do that move." I said to the young lady, I like to encourage the guys to help them out. I don't know what move I meant, but Albie will make sense out of it, and it could help him out. She looked at me and seemed a little more relaxed. She said,
I want to say something, but I don't know what to say.
I told her, just say something motivational. It doesn't matter. It just matters that they hear you and they'll make sense out of it. After all, yelling something motivational to your teammates can make the difference to them doing better. She said again,
But I don't know what to say, though.
I was stuck. Then I remembered the old desk calendars that had motivational quotes on them each day. So I said, just say something motivational, like what's on the calendar. Without questioning, she took the advice and confidently yelled,
January!
The moment she said it, she realized it was wrong. But she said it with enough conviction, everyone looked at her. Of course she was embarrassed, so was I. It turns out, not too many young people know about the old desk calendars with the quotes at the bottom of each page. I apologized to her, but she was laughing at herself so much, it was a fun time. Her nickname is now January. I told her in time, people won't call you January. They'll just call you Jan. Then you'll have to explain to the new people why you were called Jan. This has been Mat Tales. Some of the names and places may have changed. We may have, in fact, taken some creative liberties with the story. In order to keep Mat Tales going, we need more tales. Tales from listeners like you. Send your Mat Tales to bjjbrick@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing your amazing stories. All right. Thanks for the contribution on that, Mat Tales. And I hope everyone is doing good at the gym. Special shout out to our new friend Jan. And if you have a Mat Tale, please send it in. This segment really doesn't go anywhere without the listeners supporting it. And it's not super easy to do. You got to sit down, write up a story, what happened, and then send it in. It's not like you could just do it in 2 minutes. It's quite the effort. And I enjoy putting them together, throwing some music with it and that sort of thing. So big thank you for that submission of Mat Tales and all the other past ones as well. So without you guys, the segment just kind of sits there and doesn't go anywhere. So that was part 4 of Mat Tales. We hope to bring you part 5 pretty soon.
So if you do have some awkward, weird time or something that happened with jiu-jitsu, definitely, like Byron said, get it to us, bjjbrick@gmail.com. Send us a message on our Facebook page. We would love to get it on the show. And like you said, you'd become part of the show. So it's always kind of neat to be part of the show.
Yeah, and really we're trying to get the show to be a little bit more have a little more depth to it. You know, we've always had the article and the quote and an interview and stuff like that, but we're trying to have more fun with it. And that stuff takes time, and that's okay, but it really is easier to spend more time on it with our Patreon supporters and people who are willing to actually pay $1 or $2 per show to really help us out and help keep this podcast going. If you're interested in supporting the show, check out Patreon. There's a link to it in the show notes. I'll explain to you how it works and how you can support the show through that, and that means a lot to us if you're willing to support the show through Patreon. So it means a lot. Support us by sending us a mat tail. Doesn't matter, you know. Both are great.
Yeah. The other way to support us, basically check us out on social media. Byron talked a little bit earlier about YouTube, but we're on YouTube, BJJ Brick under YouTube. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, so Twitter. Definitely check us out. And, you know, besides checking us out, if you like us, tell your friends about us. Best form of flattery to us is if you like our show and you have enough confidence in us to tell your friends. So, and all that's going to do is, you know, we try to bring jiu-jitsu to more people, and it's just going to expose more people to jiu-jitsu, and that's what we're here for, just trying to grow the sport.
Yep. Gary, I'm excited to bring next week's episode to everybody. It's going to be a little different, my friend.
Byron, you haven't even told me what's next week. So, you know, I know normally you probably tell me first, but I think we should just let it out so I know and all our listeners.
Well, good. You got to know because, my friend, it's you and it's me, and we're going to cover a topic. So this will be...
Oh, I thought you were going to have us fighting to the death live on camera.
That's next month.
Oh, okay.
Next month, we're going to fight to the death.
I'm 46, 13, and 12 in death matches.
Yeah, and I have ran away every time. So I'm 0, 0, and 0, but I always bring my running shoes.
There you go.
But we're going to talk... so I'm thinking, Gary, this might be kind of fun to do. We've had great success with this in the past. In our earlier episodes, we would have a topic we'd talk about and kind of cover it with a little more depth. And I'm thinking maybe we'll do this the last episode of the month, kind of for a while, and see how the people like it, if our friends like it out there. So next week, we're going to talk about bringing a friend to class and maybe some tips and some advice on to make that go well. I think this is a big thing because we do want to share our jiu-jitsu with our friends. But if you bring your friend in and it kind of flops and it goes poorly, well, you feel bad. You know, they didn't have a good time. They didn't get a good exposure to jiu-jitsu. They could have liked that possibly. But if it goes well, you could have just introduced them to something that they're going to do for decades possibly. So, really, this is a big deal to grow the sport in the long run, is to be able to bring your friend in, have them get a good exposure to it. Whether they like it or not, if you do the things that we're talking about next week, you can be confident that you did everything you could to expose them to jiu-jitsu, the great things that it has to offer, and hopefully they'll stick with it. If not, that's fine too. Thanks for checking it out, that type of a thing. So I think this will be a great show next week. It's going to be Gary and Byron helping you bring your friend to class.
So definitely stay tuned, or not stay tuned. Tune in next week for more good times.
Yep. Gary, we are located kind of in the middle of the country, and if somebody wants to train with us, how would they do that?
Well, you know, Byron, the way you would do that is send us a line. Send us a message, bjjbrick@gmail.com. Send us a private message on Facebook, or send us a public message. Send us smoke screens. We would love to train with you. It really doesn't matter. We'll train with anybody. We're equal opportunity training partners. So let us know. We'd love to train with you.
Yep. We actually met one of our good friends, Shamani, that way. He called out Gary publicly, saying that he could beat Gary in a death match. And very public thing, you know, a lot of videos going back and forth, and very crazy, if you could believe that, which you probably shouldn't. But that's, I mean, so if you want to call us out publicly that you want to come roll with us and see if we're just a bunch of podcasters or we actually get some mat time in, we'll be happy to have that experience.
The good thing about being podcasts, we can tell people we roll and really never roll. That's what the cool part about it is. So I guess by doing this, you will really find out if it's true or not. So I never thought of it that way. But, you know, Shimani learned a lesson the hard way. He tapped me out 32 times. So, you know, I guarantee you he had sore inner thighs from all the triangles. I put a beating on him.
Yeah, that guy, Shimani actually tapped out both of us in the same triangle. That was impressive.
He's also 7'1", so I think that had a lot to do with it.
So anyway, however you want to get a hold of us, there's lots of social media ways to do that, and come train with us if you want to. We're in Wichita, Kansas, and we're happy to get some mat time with our new friends. All right, well, thanks for joining us this week. We look forward to next week. As always, stay sweaty, my friends.
And don't forget to shower.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.